There we go. And so we'll call the meeting to order. We have a full quorum tonight, so we're all in good shape. So if everybody would stand up and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. I just have a few comments that I want to make tonight. Today at noon, Trustee Durbin and I and President Swain attended the Economic Development Corporation's annual luncheon. And the panel this year was the three CEOs of our local healthcare, Northwest Specialty, Kootenai Health, and Heritage Health. And it was an eye-opening experience. Learned a lot of neat stuff about what's going on around here. And I want to mention that NIC was the center of attention for somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes when it was mentioned about how many students from here are employed at those three institutions. It was really eye-opening and very gratifying to hear that, okay? And then just this afternoon, for an hour and a half before this meeting, Trustee Durbin, myself, and Trustee Havercroft all toured the Meyer Science and Health Building. And that is pretty incredible. The kids that come out of there, the level of employment that comes out of there, the money they make when they leave this place is just amazing. I was very proud to be part of that whole system right there. It was very gratifying. Okay, first agenda item is celebrating success.
And we have, a lot of times we get students on main campus or athletes, and every year we have students that participate in the Skills USA program. And Skills USA is a place where students can go and demonstrate their proficiency in skills and compete. And this year we had 2 students that got bronze, and so at the state level, so it's great. Every year we have students that are winning awards and ribbons, and so Andy Rogie is going to come up and introduce his students, and they'll tell you a little bit about what they did. And they love public speaking, I've been told.
How's it going, guys? So as you said, every year we've been competing with Skills USA for ever since I was going to school here back in '07. And it was before that, so my previous Cal DeHaas had got me into it, and it's been a great thing to be able to utilize with our teaching. So just kind of using a CTSO like that to help us guide some of our curriculum a little bit, and even bringing students over to be able to show off their skill set over in our state competition. So SLSC is what we call it, is our state competition over in Boise. We do get to compete against all of the Idaho career and technical education schools, so not only in the high school, but in the college side also. So ISU's there, CWI, all these other schools we got to compete against, and to be up on the podium is a pretty big deal, you know. And last year we had pretty good success on bringing 3 students down to nationals, got gold place with all of them. This year, we still got on the podium, got silver and bronzes, and the high school program also got a gold, silver, and a bronze. So they're kind of, dual credit students, part of our program still, and it's just fun to see how these guys did. This year, they sent Ellie down and Gary to be able to take some pictures of the event and kind of see how it is at our stateside, so that's where these photos are coming from. But yeah, it's an amazing opportunity for students to be able to go down and just showcase their skill set and see what they learn in the classroom and be able to apply it to even a competition. But these competitions are all about using those skills in the industry and the workplace. To my left over here, I've got Taryn Costa and Cameron Wixom, 2 of my students that got to go down. And well, I wanted to mention that we are only a 9-month program, and we compete against a lot of 2-year programs in there, and just being able to be up on the podium is huge, as we only have the 1 year that we are at our program. So I'll let these guys just talk for a minute on maybe what they saw at the competition, maybe what they learned from the class and how it helped.
I'm Taryn Costa. This is my second year going down. I went down in the high school, and this year I enjoyed it a lot more. I was a lot less stressed. Like, I knew kind of what I was doing, but it was a lot of fun. It was a great opportunity. I would definitely, like, anybody who is able to go is, like, so blessed to be able to go do that and just communicate with everybody and, like, when we went down, we were able to go down and see, like, the other shops also as a tour, which was really cool. Go see, like, some of the body shops down there, and they're, like, classic car shops, which was really cool. It was just so much fun. It, like, created our classroom, like, our bond so much better. It was a really cool opportunity.
I'm Cameron Wixom. This is my second time going down to state, and I enjoyed it a lot, and especially since I placed against other schools that were 2 years, it makes you feel a lot better about your skills. And I had a lot of fun. Touring the body shops was fun, and they changed it up this year with different paints and stuff, which was really cool to see how you can adapt. Because some people, after the orientation and they show you how to do everything, some people still didn't grasp that. And so that's a big skill set to learn in this industry, is to move on to new changes and new technology and how to use it. And so that was really fun, and I enjoyed my time there.
So, do they have jobs yet, and where, and what are you going to do after?
We are currently trying to get them jobs. Right now, it appears that the industry is a little slower in our current area. Outside of this part of North Idaho, Washington is having a few more job opportunities, but I think the lack of snow and a few things that body shops rely on is making the search a little more difficult. But they're in the crosshairs. We actually had our advisory board meeting today, and a lot of our local industry guys are, they got them in there, and I've been talking with a lot of them trying to get positions for these people here. So,
And how many of your class, how many are women?
actually, most of them, yeah. So we have seven,
I knew the answer. I was
7 ladies and 5 guys. So we have a majority class this year, which is a little abnormal for us, but it's been a great, usually the ladies listen better for the most part. But it's been a really, really strong class that we had this year over in Parker. So
I think several folks, Louisa Rogers in particular, I think has made a concerted effort to get, to expose young women to career fields that are traditionally male. And so I think that's paying off big dividends and getting young ladies that are not just in the field, but competitive at the state level. I mean, I think that's just really incredible. I appreciate you all coming tonight to talk to the trustees.
well, thank you guys very much.
Any questions?
Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say congratulations. And I'm really excited to see more women get into these programs. We're seeing that on the technical side of our shops too. So this is really good. And I hope that it snows early this fall, right? Because I wouldn't want to miss an opportunity to be able to put some female as good as you are to work in my own shop, so.
It's a crazy opportunity. I've been talking with Gavin and a few others, trying to get, positions and just kind of see where we're at. But seeing some of your new buildings and stuff, and especially the new one, it's going to be a fun one to be able to, be a part of eventually. So,
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Rogan, and thank you for what is obviously a well-run operation. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Next item is public comment, and there won't be any because nobody signed up tonight. All right, constituent reports, starting with ASNIC.
Good evening, Chair Corkill, Board of Trustees, President Swain, and community members. Over the past month, as Nick's been wrapping up for our semester, our only major event this month was our Day of Service that we held last Saturday. We assisted the Ecology Club with their bioswale project that they're doing right now over near Meyer Health and Sciences building. And we also did some weeding and cleanup around the Fort Sherman Powder Magazine building where they have some flowers and plants for the Ecology Club. Another small event that we attended this month was the interviews for the Director of Orientation and Student Engagement position, where we got to ask the candidates some questions about past experiences and leadership styles and kind of try to get a good feel for who we're looking at kind of stepping in as our new advisor role for the coming year. This month, we also sent out our annual spring survey to the students, and so far we've received almost twice as many responses as last year's survey, so definitely pleased with that. Survey is remaining open for responses until the 2nd of May. Additionally, we finalized our budget for next year's ASNIC team. Our total budget increased a little bit compared to last year, so we were able to increase our budget lines for our projects, student events, FAST grants, and a couple other line items for that budget. And finally, we completed our spring elections for next year's team, filled our president and vice president positions, and 4 senator slots as well. So our starting team for next year will be Blake Sanchez as president, yours truly as vice president, and the senators Abigail Harrington, Serena Hand, Roger Griffin, who is with us tonight, hi Roger, and Gabrielle Hill as senators. Next week, we'll be serving at night at the library and holding our spring Cardinal Cruise as our final event of the school year. And that is all I have to report. Do I have any questions?
Any questions?
Is that
Thank
your
you.
first interview that you've been on the other side of the table? When you interviewed with the student success and first-year experience person, was that the first time you got to interview somebody for a job that?
No, I've interviewed candidates for ASNIC.
Yeah, for ASNIC.
So,
Right.
got a little bit of experience there.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next report is faculty assembly.
Chair Corkle, President Swain, unparalleled NIC faculty, staff, and students, and our honored community members. We held our faculty assembly meeting on April 10th. At that point, we heard regular reports from Senate, Student Learning Outcomes Assessment Committee, advising updates, Open Education Resource Committee, an adjunct faculty report, facilities update, and accessibility update. The business that we conducted at this meeting included, every year we do a committee membership survey. All of our faculty are required to do committees or college service as part of their contract. So in working with our institutional research department, we launched that survey again today. It was sent to all full-time faculty that have a contracted responsibility. That will end May 9th. Upon completion, then all of those committee rosters will be updated, and we can identify any committees that still need faculty members and reach out to faculty members to fill out those rosters. Secondly, we took open nominations for faculty assembly executive positions for the 2025-26 academic year. They will close on Monday, May 5th, and we will do our elections at the faculty assembly meeting on May 8th. There were 2 items that were discussed quite at length and then referred on to the administration for more information. The first was Senate Bill 1198, known as the DEI bill, which goes into effect July 1st. The faculty expressed concerns about the effect on faculty academic freedom and asked for more clarity on the college's response and requirements in complying with that new law. Secondly, upcoming April 2026 federal accessibility requirements for higher education course materials and teaching aids. The faculty asked for more information on the college's preparation and support to faculty in reaching compliance with these accessibility regulations as well. And then last, but certainly not least, most of us on this campus, myself included, would have a tremendously difficult time
doing what we need to do for this college without the support that we receive from our administrative assistants. So if everyone could look to the back of the room. And so I'm going to embarrass Susie and Kristen just a little bit because they're the folks that are here that we can embarrass. Could we just give a round of applause to these folks that do so much for us? And if you have an administrative assistant and you didn't give them flowers, buy some for tomorrow. And that concludes my chair report. I am open for questions.
Thank you. That was a very nice gesture. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Staff assembly.
Good evening, Chair Corkle, trustees, President Swain, and community members. Staff Assembly met on April 10th this month. We had a short and sweet meeting that included new employee introductions, reports from myself and Senate, and updates on events across campus. There were actually quite a few variety of events that we encouraged our staff to go to, including a student art exhibit, the theater production of Clue the Musical, and some spring concerts that were happening. We also highlighted the GradFest event for students who will be graduating in May. So this event is where students can pick up their caps and gowns, commencement tickets, receive transformation, and meet with the Alumni Association. So we wanted to make sure our staff had those dates and times to provide to students. Staff Assembly is also busy with gathering nominations for next year's executive committee. Nominations closed yesterday and voting will begin this week. So we will be able to introduce our newest members in May. And that concludes my report. Does the board have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Senate.
Good evening, Chair Corkle, trustees, President Swain, community members, and colleagues. Senate had a productive meeting this last Thursday, April 17th, where we passed the Vacation and Personal Leave Policy 3.04.02 with a deletion of Policy 3.04.06.02 on personal leave because they were combined. We also passed the FMLA Policy 3.04.09 with a deletion of the procedure, with the information in the procedure being moved to administrative guidelines. Additionally, we conducted a first reading of the Faculty Evaluation Policy and Procedure 3.02.21. And that concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. President Swain.
Okay. Well, so you'll see those, the actions taken by the Senate in approving those policies. Those policies have come to the Cabinet for review, and then you'll see them next month, generally speaking. And I always have these things I want to show people, and I forget halfway through. So I'm going to start with that, and they may come out of order. But I want to start with the really big raffle, which is one of the big fundraisers for our NIC Foundation. How much are the tickets? 200 bucks? 150 bucks. They sell 5,000 tickets, and the winner gets a house. The runner-up is usually a car. So it's a really big raffle. And they only have about 1,800 tickets left, so they're flying out the door. And a couple of local folks won last year. I think Rael has shared some information about the winner of the house was a former student, and the winner of the car was an employee. So it's really a nice program. It's one of the big fundraisers for the foundation. So you can get your tickets, talk to Rael afterwards, or nic.edu RBR, really big raffle. We've been really working on some advertising and marketing. We have been doing that a lot lately. So I just want to share the Idaho launch program. This is a couple weeks old. The deadline to apply was April 15th. And so if you did not apply, if you're a graduating senior or your child is a graduating senior from Idaho and you did not apply for launch, you're leaving money on the table. Launch covers up to $8,000 in tuition, 80% a year. With the money that you get from the foundation through things like the really big raffle, you can actually go tuition-free. Of course, there are other costs that you incur, but almost free, which is a phenomenal opportunity. One more thing, as you heard the young ladies and Andy Rogie talk about, really great coverage this time in the paper for our students that went to the Skills USA competition, and Gary wrote the article and got the pictures in the paper. We sent 2 people down there. We usually don't do that. We send them to athletic events, but why not send them to a really cool CTE event? And so they got to go down there and take some pictures and document that. And then we have our front and back cover of Section C is the arts display that we have set up. And then last but not least, we have the Cardinal Classic, the fundraiser for the Booster Club. There's still a couple of sponsorship opportunities, and I think they need another 10 or 12 teams to sign up, so plenty of opportunities there. That money goes directly to our student athletes and supporting the student athlete programs. So there. And then this was not part of the packet, but it's part of the information we provided to trustees. We've had, over the past 5 years or so, we've had pretty significant turnover in staff and faculty, and of course, we're a 2-year program, so big turnover in students. And so we were having a conversation about the different support systems that we have in place to help students and employees to some degree. And because these things happen in all these different departments, and some people don't know each other anymore, we asked Lynn Covey, another one of our outstanding executive assistants, to put this together. So you see in your packet, this is a draft. You see the numbers, some of the stuff is in red. But ultimately, once we get this all done and approved, and I wanted to share it with you so you get some idea of the extent of support that we provide students. But once we get all this done, we'll get it online so that our staff and faculty and students can access it directly and figure out when they need support where they go to get it. So that's coming up on the website. All right. And now the rest of the story. In accreditation, we're already working on our next report to NWCCU. It's due the end of August. But what's interesting is this is the first time since I've been here that we've submitted a report to the NWCCU that was not 100% focused on restoring accreditation. Typically, you send reports every couple years to NWCCU to say, here's we are. It's routine reporting, usually 3 years, 6 years, 7 years, those kinds of cycles. And so this one is a regular, it was delayed. It was supposed to be a mid-cycle review done 2 years ago, but because we were on show cause, they put it on hold. So now we're back in a mid-cycle review and doing the final, hopefully the final edit to get us off of probation. So that's coming up, due in August. Lots of work to do. Even though the accreditation issue of probation, I think most of that we have covered, the mid-cycle review piece are things that we still have to collect a lot of data on and show how we're making progress. And so more to follow on that. Also in kind of related accreditation news, and Chair Corkle talked about the visit to Meyer Health and Science Building, but something that they didn't talk about because they like to brag about graduation rates, but they didn't bring this up. We finally got the results back from our December nursing board exam, which is a big exam that all the registered nurses take, both 2-year and 4-year. So if you're getting a BSN at a 4-year institution, you take the same exam that we do after 2 years. So our students are obviously smarter because they can master it in 2 years, or our faculty are better. But 100% pass rate. 100% pass rate. Usually we have one student that gets it on the second time, but 100% pass rate in December. So that's up from 98%. Huge improvement there. Kind of tongue in cheek, but In terms of enrollment management, you'll be getting the spring report later, so I'm not going to steal all of Tammy Half's thunder, but we did really well for spring of 2025. For summer of 2025, we still have 48 days before the start of the session and 8 weeks until our official census date, but we're already seeing very positive trends. And if we adjusting for the academic calendar, like we approved last meeting, where we made sure that our start date comes after the time that our local high schools finish. In the past, we've started before they finished, which made it very hard for them to take classes. So by delaying our start date, opens it up to a whole bunch of new students. And so I think that will increase our enrollment for the summer. But with dual credit, because now they can take dual credit this summer, and our matriculating students looks like we've got a real good jump on progress. Our goal was to hit 5% increase for summer, and which would put us around 1150. So remember, we've got 48 days yet before the classes start, but we currently have 928, which is 15.4% up over last year at this time. So again, you're seeing this 15% trend continue. For the fall, 118 days remaining before the session starts, which works out to about 25 weeks. It will come before we know it. Our trend line is holding pretty steady, between 5 and 6% ahead of last year. And remember, last year we had a 15% increase. So 5 to 6% more means that we're really making good progress in the community. And our goal is 4%. That's what we base our budget on, 4% growth in our credits, taking out for just focusing on non-dual. So no dual credit students in the budget, getting a 4% growth rate. And currently, if you take out dual credit, we're at 7% over last year. So we're right on track where we need to be. In terms of stakeholder engagement, yesterday we had the Coeur d'Alene Chamber hosted their scholarship breakfast, and they held there was an article in the paper about this today. 204 area students received at least $1,000 scholarship. Most of them got $2,000, and some of them more than that. There were lots of students that came up to me and told me they were coming to NIC. We had about 10 at our two tables that were definitely coming to NIC, and these are students that are top of their class. So we're real excited to have them. I think I sat next to a nursing student, surge tech student, and a rad tech student, and I'm sure there were and one of our culinary arts students are going to be here next year. I already talked about the golf fundraiser. Happens May 9th at the Links Golf Course. Still a few openings, so if you're interested in sponsoring, let me know. There's a poster like this up around on campus, and it's up on the web, so you can get that and figure out how you can either sponsor or field a team. The final performance of our first joint performance with the Coeur d'Alene Summer Theater is Clue, the musical, and they started last week. They're finishing up. They'll have a stage appearance on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Saturday's a matinee. Get your tickets now. It's a great play, and they have done a wonderful job. Today, as Chair Corkill mentioned, the CDA EDC lunch focused on healthcare. So it was a panel of the three CEOs from our local healthcare institutions, and it was just absolutely obvious that NIC literally plays a critical role in the health of our community. Just by, about 65% of their employees, they said, are NIC graduates, and so we play a critical role there, and it was obvious that they appreciate what we're doing. At our Workforce Training Center, I don't see Colby here, and I know Vicki is visiting her grandchild. Workforce Training Center co-hosted a program we call H4, which is Hard Hats, Hammers, Healthcare, and Hot Dogs. And we actually co-host that with K-Tech. And if you read the article, it's like K-Tech did it all, but we co-host it with them and let them have the glory. That's great. But about 400 local kids showed up. And over the past couple of years, it's been about 350. So we're seeing a big jump in number of students that are interested in the trades. As you saw those, the two young ladies there, they are recognizing that the trades are a great way to have lifelong employment. It's very hard to get AI to fix your car. So those are some of the skills that are not going to be beat by AI. And we heard today in our medical lab tech, who is absolutely not inspired by her program. I'm joking, she's like on fire. Her two graduates this year, one is, she said, was making 67, and the other one's making 80 because she agreed to work at night. They're working 3 days, and they get $5,000 signing bonus. So they're graduating debt-free and making $80,000 a year. So there are absolutely first-class, high-paying jobs available throughout the community that are in demand. She said 25,000 new jobs created in MLT every year, and they're only graduating 2,500, something like 5,000. So you guys were paying attention, great. So they're only graduating about 5,000. So plenty of jobs out there here and around the country in things like medical lab technician, but also surge tech. All those kids are graduating, and when I say kids, all the students are graduating with jobs. Most of them have jobs before they actually graduate. So wonderful programs, debt-free with launch, and it's a great way to stay in the community and earn a really good income. I've mentioned a couple times that we have a new partnership going on with the Idaho Foresters. It's not any one group, not Idaho Forest Group, which is a company, but actually just the Forester Association. So they have really come on strong and are looking for our support. Just like many of our medical degrees, students, and I was here in the 80s, and it seemed like all the jobs in the forestry industry were gone. And I think a lot of parents think they're all gone. And jobs in the mining industry are all gone, but they're not. They're coming back. And the problem is, like in the forestry industry, the students all think they're gone, so they're not applying. They've got equipment there ready to train people. They've got people there ready to train people. But folks don't know that the jobs are there, and they're good jobs, reliable jobs. The governor signed a forestry initiative yesterday. So lots of opportunities there for careers. And Colby has been working with them. He's going to go down next week and talk to the, in Orfino, they have the Idaho Forester Associations that's meeting down there. He's going to go down there and talk to them about how we can help them grow their industry. They have plenty of raw material. They just need workers. So we're going to help with that. And then also want to tell everybody, this was a big deal a couple years ago, that we're back in aviation. Colby has linked up with the Empire Air and Kodiak. Kodiak's based up in Sandpoint, and they are working with us to create another apprenticeship program, and that will allow the students to get one. There are a couple problems with the old program, that students were trained really in the body work of aircraft. But they've got to be trained in bodywork, engine repair, and avionics. And so this will get them certified in all of those areas. And so they'll be able to be hired and be gainfully employed. And it's great because the other problem with our avionics program is it costs about 3 times what our other programs cost. And then when students graduate, they couldn't get jobs. So this is very low cost to us. And they're guaranteed jobs because the actual employers are there training them so they know what they're getting. So really good move, I think, for us to get back in the aviation industry. The next topic, support to our athletes. We restarted this annual athletic banquet. It used to happen every year before COVID kind of dropped off. And we started it back. It's happened this year on this past Monday. Really nice. 150 students showed up at the event downstairs. Really nice award ceremony, recognized not just the student athletes, but also they got to pick faculty and staff support. And one of the guy that got the most applause was Steve Ackerman from our food service downstairs. I don't know what it is he does, but all the athletes are happy, so he must have given a portion and a half or something, I don't know. But he got a standing ovation for his efforts last night and his recognition, so it was a really nice thing. In terms of general updates, Kathleen Miller Green talked about some of the challenges that we're having with Senate Bill 1198. The provost and I attended the State Board of Education meeting last week in Moscow, and there's a lot of ongoing discussion. It's a really poorly worded piece of legislation. It's very ambiguous. It's the, we call it the DEI rule, and it's not a problem with the DEI, but it's so general that somebody that is teaching a history course that talks about slavery or something for the Civil War might get in trouble for that. And so it really makes it awkward to teach some courses. And then with things like our medical programs, they're required to go over some of that stuff, and they'll, it exposes them to risk. And then, of course, social work and some of the other programs that we have where those are part of the curriculum and required. And so figuring out how to work our way through that, I will give credit, the state board is stepping up and really trying to coordinate that. So we're not on our own. Our attorneys are in it with us. We had a meeting 2 days, I think the provost had a meeting a couple days ago with the attorneys, all the provosts from around the state. Yesterday, the presidents of all the two-year institutions were there with our attorneys talking through some of those issues with the state board, and we're trying to work all those things out so that our faculty don't bear the brunt of that legislation. I think it really needs to be fixed. It was approved kind of at the last minute, and so I understand what they're trying to do. I think this bill just is so, it needs to be tightened up so that we can do what they want without causing real problems with free speech and academic freedom. So lots of concerns there, but we're working on it. I also want to recognize that there were some changes at the state board. Kurt Liebich has been on the board for a while. He's going to take over as chair. Linda Clark, who's been the chair of the state board, is stepping down. So Kurt's well prepared to take over the leadership role there. And a woman named Jennifer White, who is an attorney, used to work at Boise State, has been appointed by the governor to take over the executive director role from Josh Whitworth, who is leaving to go back into industry. Going to work for a software development company, if I understand it correctly. And then I shared a copy of this draft support document that it's currently in paper form. Like I said, we're going to get it up on the web, so look for that. And I think if you take a look at all of these services, we do a really good job of providing services to students. We don't yet do a great job of communicating the services that we provide. So that's what we're trying to work on. And then last note is, well, actually not the last note because there's one more that just came in. Our spring commencement is on May 16th, so it will happen before our next board meeting. May 16th, there are two ceremonies, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. As you've noticed, maybe the gym is under construction, so it's all fenced off. So we will not be staging in the gym. We'll be staging downstairs in the main dining area and then proceeding up Garden Avenue to Schuler for the ceremony. And then the last thing, and it was really just this afternoon, and really no clarity on it other than President Trump has signed an executive order that I'm not sure what impact it will have, but he basically is trying to reconfigure the accrediting bodies and how accreditation is done. So I'm not sure what the impact of that's going to be yet. More to digest on that and see. What I'm concerned about is being caught in Never Never Land, that if the accrediting body that we've been working with something happens to it and we don't get cleared before it goes away, then what's our status? And that's really my immediate concern. And then I'm sure there will be more things to be concerned about as things develop. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is Quarter 3 Finance Report.
Oh, Sarah. So normally, we would give you, in April, we would give you a first read of the budget. And I explained to all the trustees when I do my call with them to prep them for the meeting that there are a lot of things on the table that we don't know yet. And one of the big ones is ICRIMP, and Sarah may have more up-to-date information. We've asked to go back under ICRIMP, and they are entertaining our request. They actually were meeting yesterday and today, and I don't know if did you hear anything from them?
Not yet.
Not yet. So if we get approved to go back under ICRIMP, that may have a significant impact on our budget. But there are some other things, and Sarah will talk about those at the end of her report. But normally, we would do a budget report in April and then a second read in May. And so we're going to do it a little bit differently just because of some of the things that just changed recently. So go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, so I may stumble a little bit because half of what Dr. Swain just said is in my presentation. So
That's okay. Repeat it.
I may stumble a little bit and try not to repeat too much. Good evening, Chair Corgill, trustees, President Swain, colleagues and guests. I am Sarah Garcia, Vice President for Finance, and I'm here with a third quarter finance update. Oops, sorry. Here we go. I'm not sure how it happened, but we're 3/4 of the way through this fiscal year. With 3/4 of the year elapsed, we should be at approximately 75% of our expected budget expenditures and revenues. On this slide, you can see that we've collected about 80% of our full year revenue budget so far. We're actually the number is about $2.4 million ahead of our budget year to date. So that's through the end of March. A quarter of that amount is due to tuition increases from higher than budgeted enrollment. So we've talked about the enrollments. So about $700,000 of that increase is due to that. The rest is due to miscellaneous income, mostly interest on our capital investment reserve and the rest of our cash balances. Our personnel costs are, which include both salary and benefits, are at 68% of budget year to date. That's not really any surprise, and it's been consistent throughout this fiscal year due to position turnover on campus. Our operating expenses are 87% of budget year to date, and those operating expenses are non-personnel expenses. As we've had difficulty hiring for certain positions, we've contracted with outside providers to help us get some of that work done. We also have intentionally utilized some of the savings from personnel costs to support strategic initiatives, purchase software, and streamline some of our internal processes. But overall, year to date, our total expenditures are below budget, and our revenue is above budget. So we're in a good place. This next slide shows the revenue detail kind of by the different categories that we look at it. And it's comparing last fiscal year to this fiscal year. So last fiscal year 24, is the column on the left, and this year, fiscal year 25, is the column on the right. Total revenue through March for last year was $41.3 million, and this year it's $43 million. So very close. All the categories have remained relatively stable under the circumstances or based on our budget. This one is the non-personnel expenses, March year-to-date expenses. Again, column on the left is fiscal year 24, the column on the right is fiscal year 25. As you can see, our non-payroll expenses increased significantly from 24 to 25. Last year, we were at $11.8 million, and this year we're at $14.3 million, which is a $2.5 million increase. But included in this increase they were all budgeted increases. So they included travel and institutional support for the athletes. That's a large portion of it, but not all of the increase in expenses. But all in all, we're in a very good place this year at this point. So I'd like to move on and talk a little bit about FY26. So as Dr. Swain said, normally I would be here presenting the first reading of the budget for you in April. We've made significant progress identifying expense savings and some revenue increases, such as I've talked about a number of times this year, the interest income is coming in higher than budgeted. We're going to bump up that interest income budget as part of our budget process so that it's truer to what we expect to see. So that's what I mean when I say revenue increases, things like that, that we can true up to what's actually happening. But as Dr. Swain also said, we have some tools and some resources that weren't available to us until recently. And one of those is our insurance, the insurance renewal. So we hope to have an answer. I'm hoping to know something more definitive next week. But we have completed all of the necessary paperwork and are awaiting both a decision and a quote from ICRIMP. They met over the past 2 days. I would hope that we would get notification relatively quickly if they were going to offer us coverage and know the amount that they would offer it at. The other item is tuition. When we presented budget assumptions last month, the bill to increase the tuition cap for community colleges had just recently passed. Since then, we've learned that the other 3 community colleges in Idaho have either proposed and approved or are going to propose tuition increases this year. We would like to propose a modification to our budget assumption related to tuition and recommend an increase in our tuition rate by approximately 5%. That is the range that the other schools, that's the low end of the range of what all the other schools are doing. In the past 7 years, we have not increased tuition. The cumulative rate of inflation over that same period has been 25%. Accordingly, our cost of providing instruction has increased. We feel that the 5% increase will help catch us up a little bit with inflation. The full-time students would pay anywhere between $50 and $90 more per semester, depending on how many credit hours they were taking. We haven't had an opportunity to meet with the students yet and discuss this in detail, but I will work with ASNC to schedule a meeting as soon as possible. Once we get resolution of or support for these outstanding items, we'll schedule a time with the board members to meet with you individually or in small groups to discuss the budget proposal in more detail before the formal presentation in May. And I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Any questions? Very thorough report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, the spring enrollment report.
Hello. We'll give Bob just a second. I'm seeing it on my screen. How do I get back one? Where's the back? There, you got it. All right. All right, we're good. Good evening, Chair Corkle, trustees, President Swain, and guests. I am Tammy Half, Dean of Enrollment Services here at NIC, and it's a pleasure to be with you this evening to provide you with an overview of this spring's enrollment. It is funky sitting there. First, I'd like to take a moment to share my reporting structure. I am one of 5 deans who reports to Interim Provost Duman, the Director of Admissions and Recruitment, the Director of Financial Aid, the Registrar, and the Assistant to the Dean report to me. And in Enrollment Services, we currently have 22 employees and 8 student workers dedicated to supporting students and advancing our institutional strategic goals. Numbers shared in tonight's report are based on our March 15th census. This date is used across the state by public institutions to report their enrollment. Over the past year, significant time and effort has been dedicated to recruitment and retention initiatives. These efforts paid dividends with our fall enrollment, and I am pleased to share that they also positively impacted spring. Our official head count stands at 4,267, marking a 12.3% increase from 3,801 in spring of '24. Our full-time equivalency is 2,424, representing an 11.1% increase from last spring's number of 2,322. To calculate our full-time equivalency, we divide our total number of credits, and in spring we generated 36,358 by 15. These numbers demonstrate meaningful progress, and we remain committed to sustaining and attracting students here at NIC. Now let's take a closer look at our headcount breakdown. This spring, 47%, or 2,005 of our students are enrolled in academic transfer programs, indicating their intent is to transfer to a four-year college or university to complete their studies. 37%, or 1,580, are participating in our dual credit program and are earning college credit while also earning high school credit. 10% are enrolled in our career technical education programs and plan to enter the workforce upon completion of their certificate or degree, and 6% are non-degree and are attending NIC for a variety of reasons, which may include self-interest, needing to transfer a class to another institution, or honing their job skills. Now let's take a look at some of our key demographics. Almost half, or 46% of our students, are between the ages of 18 and 24. 26% are 25 or older, and 28 are less than 18. This semester, our oldest student is 86, and our youngest is 14, and the average age this spring at NIC is 24. 39% of our students are male, and 61 are female, and this split continues to be on par with the national average. 41% are receiving some type of financial assistance, which may include federal, state, institutional grants, and scholarships. And if we look at only our degree-seeking population, this number increases to 70%. 4%, 178 students of our population are veterans, and about 2/3 of them are currently using their GI Bill benefits. In addition, about 1% of our students are utilizing dependent or spousal benefits to help offset the educational costs. And 2% of our students are student athletes, participating in winter and spring sports, which include men's and women's basketball, wrestling, softball, and men's and women's golf. We continue to see more part-time than full-time. About 1/3 of our students are full-time, which means they're taking 12 or more credits, and 2/3 are part-time, taking 11 credits or less. 46% of degree-seeking students are first generation, indicating that neither of their parents graduated with a bachelor's degree. And I do want to note this number does not reflect those students that are here as dual credit or non-degree. 21% of our students are choosing to take 100% of their classes online, and 31% are participating in distance education, which means their classes are online or delivered hybrid. And a hybrid class basically combines face-to-face with online instruction, and the majority of the course activities are delivered online. 14% of this spring's population are new students, up 5% from last spring. And what's extremely as exciting is the increase in the first-time degree-seeking and new transfer students, which is up 21% over last spring. And if we remove the transfer students from this equation, we see that our first-time degree-seeking students is up 40% from last spring. 27% of our students are Pell eligible, and this jumps to 46% when looking only at our degree-seeking students. 89% of our students are Idaho residents, and 87% of them come from the 5 northern counties: Benewah, Bonner, Boundary, Kootenai, and Shoshone. And in these 5 counties, we did see a 2% increase from last spring. And Kootenai County accounts for 72% of Idaho enrollment, and we also saw a growth there from last spring, and that is at 3% increase. Beyond Idaho, 5% of our students are Washington residents. Another 2.5% come from Western undergraduate exchange states, which includes Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, North and South Dakota, Oregon, Utah, and Wyoming. The other 2.5% are from those states outside of the Western Undergraduate Exchange or Washington, and 1% are international. These numbers highlight our strong local presence of our student body while also reflecting our regional and global outreach. I now want to turn your attention to our dual credit program. There are 1,580 students participating this spring. 1,264, or 80% of these students, are continuing their students from fall, and 360 are new. The gender split is a little bit different from our total population. 42% are male and 58% are female. And while the majority, 84%, are attending part-time, taking about 6 credits, we do have 16% of our dual credit population taking 12 or more credits. To date, 232, or 33% of the 710 dual credit students who will graduate from high school this spring have applied to continue their studies at NIC this fall, which is very exciting. And another tidbit here is that 145 of these 710 students have actually applied to graduate from NIC in May with their degree or certificate. So those are always great numbers to see. Here's a list of our top 10 high schools for the feeder high schools for our dual credit enrollment. Lake City and Coeur d'Alene continue to top the charts for the dual credit program. Year over year, though, 8 of the 10 high schools listed increased their enrollment with us. And here are several notable highlights. Lake City, 53% increase over last spring. Coeur d'Alene High School, 80% increase over last spring. And an impressive 116% increase year over year for Timberlake. These numbers definitely reflect the growing interest in our dual credit opportunities among our local high schools. The dual credit office shares regularly with us that they are receiving a lot more contact from high schools, and we're definitely on the road. This spring, our persistence rate is 81%. To calculate the percentage, we look at the number of full-time degree-seeking, certificate-seeking students, plus the number of our new transfer students who enroll in fall and then continue their studies in spring or receive an award in fall. And while we are down slightly over last fall, overall, if you look at our 5-year trend line, we are definitely trending up. So what's next? The recruitment and retention committees, along with faculty and staff, remain committed to increasing enrollment and retention rates. We have committees that meet weekly or bi-weekly to focus on this work. We are continuing to our outreach in high schools through our NIC Connect program, through our CTE and dual credit visits. We have increased on-campus recruiting events. Our bus tour, we now not only invite high schools, but invite middle schools. And we are providing tours and doing outreach to ensure new and continuing students get registered for classes for summer and fall and have funding to cover their educational costs. I look forward to being with you in the fall to report on our fall enrollment in November. I would like to thank the IR team for their continued support, and this concludes my report. Are there any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I just want to say that it's just fabulous news what you have to share. All those increasing numbers and the top 10 schools, it's just such a big change from where we came from a few years ago. And just one question is, what are you doing, for example, at Timberlake to increase those percentages so much?
Actually, I think it's a combination of our offerings with regards to dual credit, and they really have, we've seen a turn in high schools with the change in our accreditation status as well. But we are very much having, I think, intentional conversations with them, and we are in the high schools a lot. So students and counselors are seeing us a lot more. We are on the road quite a bit. between our dual credit program and our other programs.
Well, that's great. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was a very thorough and very nice report. Okay, our building projects. There are a lot of them this summer.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'm just gonna, so facilities reports up through my division, and I'm happy to share, Dan Adams is our Assistant Director for Facilities. He's been here just over 2 years at this point, and his role is to manage this monstrosity called construction projects, so I'm gonna let him talk to you about all the fun stuff he gets to do during the day.
All right, thank you for having me here this evening, Chair Corkill, trustees, President Swain, colleagues, and community members. So, this is kind of a unique, interesting project that I got here. So I'll try and go through as best I can without boring you all. But what we have here in Idaho is the Department of Public Works, and they basically oversee how the state gives out money to the different state entities to maintain the buildings on state property, basically. It gets categorized in 4 main categories. Capital improvements, those are big buildings, major renovations, additions, things like that. ADA, which would be Americans with Disability Act compliance, so we're talking about things like elevators, ramps, door openers, things like that. Alterations and repairs, which are basically things that would support program needs. So like if we're talking about an increase in medical department programs and things like that, and we need to put in a operating room, theater, something like that, that would be an alteration, repair, or increasing the size of restrooms. Deferred maintenance, which is another big one, specifically for tonight, that's maintaining current systems. So mechanical systems, roofs, things like that, where if we don't maintain them, the buildings are going to go into disrepair. So those are basically the 4 groups of funding. Kind of looking at it in a snapshot, we're looking at about 3 years' time. We're going to go about 2 years back in the past when money was starting to be passed out to the different organizations, and about a year into the future. So that'll cover when these projects started to when they should be pretty much finishing up. We've got about $26 million in funding that the state has given us as an organization, which is a big chunk of money to just be given. Out of that money, we've got about 81 projects that we've got earmarked for that money. 39 of them are currently complete. For our completed projects, and you'll notice as I go through the different steps here, we have a lot of completed projects and not much value, and it starts to kind of swap to not as many projects, but a lot more value because those projects take quite a bit longer to develop and create. Some of these projects, we've got 39 done, $6 million in. We've replaced the windows in Boswell. We've done a bunch of elevator and generator repairs and upgrades. We've replaced 4 different roofs on campus. One is a cedar shake roof on Fort Sherman Officers Quarters. We've done a TPO roof on the gym, which is a plastic roof. We've done a metal roof, and we've done a standard comp shingle roof. So it's kind of all different types. We've done a whole lot of HVAC component replacements, so whether it's boilers, chillers, just standard HVAC units throughout a lot of the buildings on campus already. And we also rebuilt our dock out there. The picture in the corner, it's kind of a fun one just to show you kind of the weird scope of different projects we do. If you didn't know, we used to have the Post Academy on campus, and this is in the basement of Post Wenton, and that was where the shooting range actually was. When they abandoned it, they dropped a steel plate over the sand trap with all lead bullet residue, and as we move a dental program into this space, they had to dig all that up and abate it. So that was kind of a unique project there. As far as our upcoming projects, just this summer, we've got 26 projects scheduled starting May 19th. Basically, it's kicking off. Everything's getting touched on campus. About $7.1 million, as you see. Fewer projects, more value. As Dr. Swain said just previously, there's a picture of the gym as the ceiling's being replaced. We're also replacing all the seating in the gymnasium. And then the crane is actually putting a rooftop unit directly above us. So as I was looking through my photos, I've got a lot of pictures of cranes putting stuff on roofs because that's fun. This picture here, let's see. Did you have that other slide? Sorry. There we go. This one, again, there's a lot of information on this. This is basically our campus map that you can find on the website. But I have basically put in all the different projects that we've got going on this summer and then just slightly after summer. So if you look, almost every building on campus has an arrow pointing to it. Some of them have just one line item, some of them have 3 or 4 line items, meaning we might have 4 projects in one building. So like when I say we're touching almost everything on campus this summer, we are. So we will, Sarah will provide that to you as board members so you can look through that with a little bit more detail. All right? And with resolution moving into different programs, it didn't show up too well on the PowerPoint. As far as upcoming projects after summer 2025, and this will be pretty much mid-August, early August, when some of these projects will kick off, like right after summer. We've got 16 projects, again, fewer projects, but a greater value of $12.9 million. These are the bigger projects. So we've got our Diesel Bay remodel over in Headland. We got just approved for phase 2 funding for that. So that's cool. So we can do a lot more work there. The dental assisting classroom, we're bringing the dental assisting program onto the main campus for mountain workforce training. So they can move upstairs and work with the actual dental clinic there. So that's kind of a cool hand-in-hand training there. The Lakeside stage replacement, that's one of the projects. The steam plant elimination, phase 2, we're fully funded for that, and that should kick off next year. That's a $4 million project right there, and our steam plant is definitely at the end of its life. So we have just some other programs there that we're working on, projects. And then just to kind of close out, here's some fun pictures. On the right side there, you can see a couple guys working in a trench. That was a sewer line that's been giving us problems since probably the 80s. And so we were able to finally replace that. We had a crane out there with a big barge that came in and lifted the dock out of the water so it could be rebuilt on land. On the top left, you can see there's the bulkhead, which is the sunspot area. They're regrading that so we can have some nice lawn out there. And that will be ready to go probably before 4th of July weekend, which was our target date to have it up and running. And then HR's roof, that was one of the roofs that we did recently. So I do want to say this is not just me. It's all of the different departments and facilities, whether it's mail copy, security, landscaping, facilities. It's also a huge ask of IT because this summer coming up, we're displacing a lot of staff and faculty into different buildings because we're closing down Lee Kildow for the amount of work we're doing there. So IT has to remove all the telephones and computers and stuff like that. So it's a lot of people on campus all working together to make this happen. So, and any staff and faculty that are getting moved this summer, please be patient. Thank you very much for dealing with us. So, do you have any questions?
No?
Wait, I just.
Go ahead.
Yes. You talked a little bit about moving staff, but
Yes.
are you having to do programs differently this summer? What's that look like?
Most of the programs are, we basically allocated rooms where the classrooms would be, and those were dispersed first or allocated first. So as far as programs being displaced, no, we're not really displacing anybody. It's most of our business offices and things like that in the ground floor Lee Kildow that are going to be moved to different locations on campus. So, but yeah, it won't impact students other than making sure that we have good wayfinding signs so they know where they need to go. So, yeah.
So I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
First of all, wow, there's a lot going on. So you might have said it, but I don't think I quite picked up on it. At what point do you expect all the projects to be concluded?
So the majority of these projects, we're probably looking at about a year and a half out. So I apologize if I didn't say that.
That's all right. And then what impacts do you anticipate in maneuvering around campus?
Probably the biggest challenge over the summer will be the influx of people from off campus. We have a lot of people that like to use the beachfront during the summer, so not only will we have students on campus, We'll have restricted parking spaces, and then we'll also have the influx of people from off campus. So that'll be a little bit challenging. And then just typically getting into a building, if we have to shut down power, we try and do it early in the morning. If we have to shut down water, so it's coordination in that way, making sure that staff and faculty know what's going on. As we replace generators, which is a current program that we're going through on campus, some of the buildings have our servers in it, so we have to make sure we have a temporary generator set up for the temporary generator when that gets taken offline, coordinating with IT that the power will be off for 10 minutes as we swap things over, things like that. So it's just a lot of coordination, which, you know, we can always be better, but we try our best and make sure everybody's on board. And that tends to be pretty good.
Anything else?
I'll say, between Sarah and Randy Silvarp is our head of facilities, and Dan, they've just done a great job of coordinating all this and making sure that all the moving around is coordinated. People know where they're going to go, and working on signage and swapping out, redirecting all the phones so that they ring where you are, not where you were. You know, there might be some errors, but I think generally speaking, they've got it all wired. Everything's really well planned out. Sarah's presented this a couple times with Randy, and so the work has been done, and now it's just up to execution. And you know, my experience is that there's always going to be a couple of snafus, but I think they've done really good at working all that out and planning. So I think for the public, the big thing to understand is that our enrollment services, everyone's used to going to Cardinal Central, which is traditionally in Lee Kildare, and it's going to be in the DeArmond building, which actually is better because parking is better. Even in the summer when the beachgoers come and park here, many of them don't park on the backside of the DeArmond building because it's too far to walk. You know, it's like, you know, an extra block. So that is generally open. So for folks that are coming and try to sing enrollment services, financial aid, those kinds of things, I think we'll have access. It's just people need to know that they've got to go primarily to the DeArmond building for those services. Did I miss anything? Is there, financial aid isn't going to DeArmond, I think?
Yeah, my personal office and my assistant, we're going to be in the library. The rest of my office, the rest of my staff is going to be in the DeArmond building, so we'll financial aid, and then the rest of enrollment services will be in the Headland building. So we're going to all be kind of spread out. We'll get our steps in this summer. We'll get it done, but we made a conscious decision when facilities and I started talking about all this work that needs to be done. We decided to vacate the building completely to just try to get it done as quickly as we can, rather than having them try to maneuver around people inside the building.
And so far, nothing had to be canceled. I think the other message to the public is...
So the other message is that we were able to honor all of the reservations we had for events, conferences, meetings, et cetera. We did not have to cancel anything because of the work that's being done this summer. And so it's really been an enormous planning and Jenga game done by the facilities team, which does include, you know, custodial, landscape, maintenance, security, IT. It's been a lot of work, and they've done an amazing job, and I'm really proud of this organization and their ability to pull off the amount of work that's going to be happening this summer.
But if you haven't requested space,
you're not going to have it.
You're probably not going to get space because everybody that got the request in early and we were able to accommodate them, that's probably all we can accommodate. There may be a couple of exceptions, but so if anybody in the public calls in our events and services and says, hey, I just need to have a room, sorry. There probably aren't any available. So it's not that we don't like you, it's just that we've got a lot going on. So.
Thank you. It was a fine report, and you're going to be a busy guy this summer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, on the consent agenda, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, I would entertain a motion.
For the whole consent agenda, is that?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
We can do, you
Yep.
need a,
Nope, you can do it all at once.
do it all at once, okay? We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. Any old business? Any new business?
We will be bringing in some reports upcoming on the metrics and measures for the strategic plan. We're about halfway through that now, and we'll get that to you and start doing one goal at a time so that everybody can have time to digest it. But that'll probably start in June or in August when we come back. But it's still in the works. And just, I think that's important. That's kind of the final piece of the strategic planning process and making sure that we are on track and working towards that. So
Good.
We'll be there.
Good. Trustee Zimmerman, thank you for zooming in tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything for the good of the order? If not, meeting adjourned.